My guilt was starting to overwhelm me. It was equaled by my ever-growing desire for Iyanla. I couldn't believe how conflicted I felt, and it was killing me. I needed to talk to someone, but at the same time, I didn't know what to say or even how to say it. I started to feel paranoid, thinking that everyone could tell that I had just slept with a woman, almost as if it were stamped on my forehead for all to read, judge, and scrutinize. It was noon, and I sat at my favorite coffee shop waiting for Todd to arrive. We had a ritual of meeting there once a week for coffee, since it was where we first met. Just my luck, our day happened to fall on the day after I slept with Iyanla, and since I had never missed a day, I couldn't miss today of all days. I never did fall asleep that morning after leaving Iyanla and crawling to bed with Todd. I eventually got up, took a shower, and left the house before Todd got up, leaving him a note which said I had a few errands to run and I would see him at the cafe later on. I wasn't ready to see Todd yet. I wasn't ready to look into his face after I did the unthinkable, slept with his best friend, a woman. My head was pounding with confusion and excitement, so I closed my eyes to grab a welcome little reprieve, but that was quickly interrupted when my cell phone started to ring. I grabbed it before the entire song, Promiscuous Woman, played out. I definitely needed to change my ringtone. "Hello," I said. "Hey, you." Alana's voice sent an unexpected chill through my body. "Hey, what are you up to?" Iyanla inquired. "Waiting for Todd at the coffee shop." "Oh." Iyanla was quiet. I'm sure the mere mention of Todd's name had a totally different meaning now than it did before. "So, Kai, I called to tell you that I had a really amazing time with you last night, and well, I can't stop thinking about you." I quickly looked around the cafe, making sure no one was in earshot. I hunched over as I dropped my voice down to an octave to a whisper. I can't stop thinking about you either," I said. "I want to see you again, Kai." I took a deep breath upon hearing this. I didn't know how to digest it all. Everything was going way too fast. "What about Todd?" I asked. "What about him? What if he finds out?" "I thought about that," Iyanla replied. "And I know we're skating on thin ice here, but Kai, I don't want to stop seeing you. Are you having second thoughts?" I contemplated Alana's question, and the crazy thing was that I never once had second thoughts. Guilty thoughts, yes, but it never crossed my mind to stop seeing her. "Kai, are you there?" Iyanla asked, pulling me from my racing thoughts. "Yes, I'm here. I'm just having a hard time with the guilt, that's all," I said. Then before I knew it, I had an idea, and before I could stop it, it was shooting out of my mouth like a cannonball. "Maybe we should tell him," I said. "Tell who?" "Todd." The hustle was simple. Noah had turned his stay behind bars into a lucrative opportunity. With Naomi on the outside, accepting payments from the loved ones of his fellow inmates, his system was flawless. He got paid in cash. F cigarettes and toiletries. Noah wanted real paper, and in return he kept heroin flowing through the prison effortlessly. With the prison guard on Noah's payroll, he never worried about his bunk getting tossed and his stash getting discovered. He had all his bases covered, and since no one wanted their connection to a good high at risk, everyone protected him. He was king inside. He was the only one with a secure link to the outside, and his peers respected him for that. Everyone had their vices, and theirs, their needs, their wants. Prison stripped people of these wants, and Noah had found a way to give them back. He was a king, and he couldn't wait to convert his newfound respect to the streets. When he touched down, he had a plan to take the city over. All he had to do was abide his time. Until then, he had a good thing going with Naomi. As he sat in the class, he found it hard to stay focused. His eyes kept diverting to the beauty at the front. They never spoke, but each time his eyes met hers, they shared a silent connection. She was one of those slick chicks, fancy, with quick wit and street smarts to match. She was arrogant in her thinking. She knew she was the shit. He did too, and he smirked as she sashayed by his desk. passing out the reading assignments that the teacher was announcing. As Naomi walked behind him, she leaned down and whispered, "Stop staring, Papa. If you see something you like, just say something." She moved on from him without looking back, but he was definitely looking at her. She was the type of chick who held her own so well that when paired with a king, she made a perfect accessory. She was different from Blue. She wasn't fragile or square. Naomi was cut from a cloth that was no longer made. She was a thoroughbred, and he told himself that when he got out, he would step to her. He couldn't do anything for her at the moment, but when he was free and on his feet, he would check for her. He had a feeling that she wouldn't say no. I found nothing odd about the fact that I couldn't stand the smell of chicken being fried, nor did I find it weird that I'd begun throwing up in the morning and couldn't hold down food. At first, I thought it was a bug or maybe just a natural reaction to the nasty-ass food Diane shoved at us. It was Diane who told me I was pregnant. "Yeah, little fast bitch," she shouted at me. "You done effed around and now society's gonna be stuck with another worthless child." Pregnant me? I didn't believe her. I never thought of having children. I've been having so much fun hitchhiking, hanging out, and getting high. I never seriously thought about getting pregnant. I figured it was my innate flyness that allowed me to roam the state, forget to take my birth control, and be promiscuously with no repercussions. Diane sent me to the doctor, who confirmed that I was indeed pregnant, about 3 months. Although Diane lied and told the doctor that I was 17 instead of 13, he was still shocked that I was pregnant so young. I was delighted at the idea that finally I was going to have someone who loved me and someone I could love. I decided it was time to start living right, because now I have someone to take care of, someone to look after. Diane hated the fact that I was pregnant. She said I made her look bad because we were one of the few black families in town, and just as white society expected, one of us had ended up barefoot and pregnant. Diana wanted me to have an abortion. At first she tried to force me to have one. In fact, it wasn't until the abortion clinic told her that I couldn't be forced to do it that she finally gave up on the idea. She took me to the thrift shop and bought me 2 maternity tops, but she refused to buy me any maternity pants, so I had to wear my regular pants, unzipped and hanging open below my quickly growing belly. She also immediately took me out of the regular junior high and put me in a school for pregnant girls. I didn't care. All I cared about was having and loving my baby. I tried to call Tim, but his mom wouldn't accept my collect calls. One of my few pregnant school friends took me to her house and let me use her phone to call the county jail to see if Tim was still there. He was. I wrote a letter telling him he was going to be a father. I didn't hear back from him, but I told myself that I didn't care. The only thing that was important was my baby, and we'd be just fine without him. Life at Diane didn't change because I was pregnant. I didn't get more food, nor were my chores reduced. In fact, they were increased. She said I should do more because I had brought inexcusable shame on the black race. I didn't care. I don't know what pissed Diane off more, the fact that I was pregnant or the fact that I was happy about it. She absolutely abhorred seeing my exhibition of any kind of joy, and in the preserved sort of way, her displeasure added to my happiness. I loved being pregnant. I started going to school every day, and for the first time since I was 11 years old, I didn't drink and only smoked weed. Around my 6th month, I finally heard from Tim. He was out of jail and ecstatic about our baby. He promised to get himself together and help me and the child. He said his mom was sending him to Texas because LA was nothing but trouble for him. He said that once he got a job and a place to stay, he'd send for us. Diane said he was full of bullshit, but I believed him. I had to. His interest in the baby gave me renewed hope of finally leaving Lancaster forever. More importantly, his declared love for us invalidated Diana's put down of black men as worthless men and irresponsible fathers. He promised to call again. I would sit by the phone, staring at it, waiting for it to ring. And when it did, hoping it was Tim, it was never. First they came for Papa. The 8-year-old boy asked no questions. He knew to be quiet in the presence of strangers. 2 women led him into a silver van. Papa looked out the window as the ignition started. There was his school, a rectangle of brick that got smaller and smaller as the van pulled away. 11 miles south, another van collected Papa's brother from his school and 4 sisters from their schools, delivering all 6 siblings to the same place, the Staten Island office of New York City's Child Protection Agency. Only the youngest child remained. The van turned east, heading up Laurel Avenue towards a white clapboard duplex with a boarded-up window. There on the sidewalk stood baby Lily with her father. The toddler hid behind his legs. As the van slowed to a halt, the father wiped his face. His daughter was too little to understand what was happening, that the people in the van were child protection workers, that the court had ordered them to take Lily and her siblings away, that the parents were being accused of neglect, that they had neglected, among other things, the condition of their home. A moment passed, the van door opened, a caseworker stepped out onto the sidewalk and paused. The father gathered Lily up and placed her in the van, promising to come for her tomorrow. That evening, the siblings were transferred to a child protection facility in Lower Manhattan, formerly the site of the Bellevue Hospital morgue. They stepped through a metal detector, trading their street clothes for matching maroon jumpsuits. Their father's words kept ringing. Whatever happened, stay together. This much they had tried for all of their short lives. 8 children, 16 hands clasped into one chain. Like this, they had dashed across the highway or played Ring Around the Rosie, lifting up and crashing down while never letting go. They had learned this from their parents, who had learned it from their parents. Now that the chain was breaking, the strongest link was already gone. Her name was Dasani. She wakes to the sound of breathing. The smaller children lie tangled under coats and wool blankets, their chests rising and falling in the dark. They have yet to stir. Their sister is always first. She looks around the room, seeing only silhouettes, the faint traces of a chin or brow, lit from the streets below. Mice scurry across the floor. Roaches crawl to the ceiling. A little pink sink drips and drips sprouted mold from a rusted pipe. A few feet away is a yellow mop bucket they use as a toilet, and the mattress where the mother and father sleep clutched, radiating out from them in all directions the 8 children they share. 2 boys and 5 girls whose beds zigzag around the baby. Her crib warmed by a hairdryer perched on the milk crate. They have learned to sleep through anything. They snore with the pull of asthma near a gash in the wall, spewing sawdust. They cough or sometimes mutter in throes of a dream. Only their sister Dasani is awake. Dasani is tiny for an 11-year-old and quick to startle. She has a delicate oval face and luminous eyes that watch everything. Owl-like, her expression veers from mischief to wonder. People often remark on her beauty, the high cheekbones and the chestnut skin. But their comments never seem to register. What she knows is that she has been blessed with perfect teeth. When braces are the stuff of fancy, straight teeth are a lottery to win. Slipping out from her covers, Dasani goes to the window. On mornings like this, she can see all the way past Brooklyn, over the rooftops and the projects and the shimmering East River. Her eyes can travel into Manhattan, to the top of the Empire State Building, the first New York skyscraper to reach 100 floors. This is a type of facts that she recites in a sing-song, look what I know way. She fixes her gaze on that distant temple, its tipped pointed celestially, its facade lit with promise. It makes me feel like there's something going on out there, she says. I have a lot of possibility. I do, though. I have a lot of things to say. One of the first things Dasani will say is that she was running before she walked. She loves being first, the first to be born, the first to go to school, the first to win a fight, the first to make the honor roll. She is a child of New York City. Even Dasani's name speaks of a certain reach. The bottled water had come to Brooklyn's Bulgage just before she was born, catching the fancy of her mother, who could not afford such indulgences. Who paid for water in a bottle, just the sound of it. Dasani conjured another life. It signaled the presence of a new people at the turn of a new century, whose discovery of Brooklyn had just begun. By the time Dasani came into the world on May 26, 2001, the old Brooklyn was vanishing. Entire neighborhoods would be remade, their families displaced, their businesses shuttered, their histories erased by a gentrification so vast and meteoric that no brand of bottled water could have signaled it. And as prosperity rose for one group of people, poverty deepened for another, leaving Dasani to grow up true to her name in a novel of place. Her skyline is filled with luxury towers, the beacons of a new gilded child. The city's wealth has flowed its outer edges, bringing pour-over coffee and artisanal donuts to places once considered gritty. Among them is Dasani's birthplace, Fort Greene, Brooklyn, where renovated townhomes come with landscape gardens and heated marble floors. Just steps away are two housing projects, tucked among them a city run-down homeless shelter where the heat is off and the food is spoiled. It is on the fourth floor of this shelter, at a window facing north, that Dasani now sits looking out. Nearly a quarter of her childhood has unfolded at the Auburn family residence, where Dasani's family, a total of 10 people, live in one room. Beyond the shelter's walls, in the fall of 2012, Dasani belongs to an invisible tribe of more than 22,000 homeless children, the highest number ever recorded, in the most unequal metropolis in America. Almost half of New York's 8.3 million residents are living near or below the poverty line. Dasani can get lost looking out her window until the sounds of autumn interrupt. Different noises mean different things. She sorts them like laundry. The light noises bring no harm. The colicky cries of an infant down the hall, the hungry barks of the Puerto Rican ladies Chichuana, the addicts who wanted the projects, hitting some crazy high. They can screech like alley cats, but no one is listening. The sound that matters has a different pitch. It comes loud and fast, with a stoic rhythm, the popping of gunshots, the pounding of fists, the raps of a security guard's knuckles on the door. Whenever this happens, Dasani starts to count. She counts her sibling in pairs, just like her mother. The thumbsuckers first, 6-year-old Haida and 7-year-old Maya, who share a small mattress. The 10-year-olds up next, Aviana, who snores the loudest, and Nana, who is going blind. The brothers last 5-year-old Papa and 11-year-old Kalik, who have converted their mental bunk into a boys-only fort. They are all here, 6 slumbering children breathing the same stale air. If danger comes, Dasani knows what to do. She will kick them away. She would tell them to shut up. They would drop to the floor in silence, except for baby Lilu, who wails like a siren. Dasani keeps forgetting to count the newest child. She has been born in April, shattering the air with her cries. Until then, Dasani considers herself a baby expert. She could change diapers, pat for bumps, check for fever. She could even tell the difference between a cry for hunger and a cry for sleep. I will gain more understanding when I realize divine action is always working on my behalf. It's a God job. There are simply some things in life that you are not going to be able to do anything about. There will be those occasions when you simply cannot change what happens or how it happens. There will be those times in your life when your hands are tied, your mind is blank, your mouth is shut, and you feel totally helpless. These are God jobs. These are experiences of God working on you, in you, through you, and for you. Although you want to get involved, although you feel the need to do something, when God is working, your job is to be still. There is nothing more challenging than sitting through a God job. Yes, you will feel weak. Yes, you may feel stupid. Unfortunately, there is nothing you can do, nor is there anything you need to do except wait. In the midst of a God job, there is nothing you need to say. There is no place you need to go. There's no amount of figuring out, or trying that will make what you want to happen the way you want it to happen. When God is on the job, working on you, in you, and for you, there's no one and nothing on the There is no one and nothing on the planet that can help you through what you are going through. On a God job, the only course of action is total, undaunted, microscopic trust. You must become a child again. You must trust that you will be fed, that you will be changed, that you will be protected, and that every day, every need you have will be met. It may feel like you are being passive, but the truth is, you can trust God in the midst of a challenge. God can do more in 5 minutes than you can ever do in 5 years. Until today, you may have been trying to do for yourself what only God can do for you. Just for today, be devoted to trusting that God is on the job, doing what needs to be done, the way it needs to be done, working towards the best possible outcome for your best interest. Today, I am devoted to remembering that God has a plan. That's all I need to know.